Hi, Callie. How are you today? Let's hope my mic doesn't mess up today. Yeah, but every once in a while it comes back. I really should just get a better microphone. How did the investigation go yesterday, Mr. Wright? Frankly, there are still a lot of gray areas. Or rather, the whole thing is one big gray area. Don't worry about me, no matter what the outcome. I'm ready to accept my fate. I believe in you, sis. Mr. Wright, let me offer you a word of advice. Yes? A defense attorney should never believe their client. The defendant is called to trial because they are suspected of wrongdoing. Never forget that. Miss Sky, you remind me a lot of Mia. But there is one decisive difference between you and her. And that is, you're not a defense attorney. I believe it's almost time for the trial. Good luck, Mr. Wright. My first trial without a Fae helping me. No one's going to bail me out this time. I'll be alone in there. I have to discover the truth all by myself. Let's do it, Mr. Wright. I'll be with you the whole way. Hello, Dodica. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution has been ready for a while, Your Honor. Edgeworth. Been 2 months, but I haven't been in a courtroom since his trial. I hope that personal feelings will not be a part of the proceedings today, Mr. Wright. I will choose the path I think is right, regardless of what those around me might say. The judgment to be made here is in our hands, not those of anyone else. Very well, Mr. Edgeworth, your opening statement, please. Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky has committed an unpardonable crime. Not only this, but she was rash enough to commit it in the prosecutor's office lock. Wow, he's much more forceful in person. I suddenly feel like confessing to everything. However, she will now pay for her rashness with her life. There was a witness to her crime. A professional witness. Well then, call your first witness, Mr. Edgeworth. The prosecution calls its first witness, Miss Angel Starr, to the stand. The cough-up queen? Haven't I seen you somewhere? You ordered the caviar lunch, right? Oh ho, caviar! I've never eaten caviar before. The judge is really wolfing it down. And for you, I have a Fiesta Bowl. Thanks. Will the witness state her name and profession? Ah, and you, sir? Did you order the fingerprint lunchbox? It is too early for lunch. Your name and profession, please. Well, Your Honor, how does it taste? So this is why everyone raves about caviar. It's so tasty it hurts. Yeah, just bringing food into the courtroom. Bringing confetti into the courtroom. I always thought caviar would taste like pickled tapioca. What the heck does pickled tapioca taste like? Name, profession, now. Me? The name is Angel Starr. Don't go forgetting it. I find myself running Lunchland these days. Is that what you wanted me to say, Mr. Edgeworth? Very well, witness. Please describe the incident to us. The prosecution will wait. I'm not finished eating. Hurry it up! Very well, Mr. Edgeworth. As you know, we usually call on the police to provide a description of the crime. Your Honor, as Mr. Edgeworth said to the court, I am a professional. What exactly does that mean? Until 2 years ago, Miss Angel Starr was a special investigator with the police. She was a first-rate homicide detective. What? Miss Starr was a detective? Aha! I know who you are. Cough up? Cough up Queen Angel Starr, Your Honor. Long time no see. Very well. You may continue with the description, Miss Starr. Just who is this lady? I might have the court's attention over here. The parking lot at the prosecutor's office is divided into 2 blocks. Block A is for the prosecutor's office personnel. Block B is for visitors and clients. A chain divider separates the 2 blocks. I suppose that's to keep visitors from taking up prosecutors' spaces, yes? The crime took place by a car in the back of Block A, in the car's trunk. The killer stabbed the victim with this knife and went to drive the body out. Unfortunately for her, there was a witness, and an arrest was made on the spot. And who was this valiant witness? Why, it was me, Your Honor. Witness, did you see the very moment of the crime? Of course, Your Honor. Immediately after that, I apprehended the chief prosecutor. It seems rather cut and dry, doesn't it? Well, Mr. Wright? I can't agree on principle, Your Honor. It seems that some poor losers are unwilling to accept the truth, Your Honor. Shall I proceed to crush what little hope they have remaining? If you can, then give them your worst, Miss Star. Wait, are they talking about me? Somehow, I always knew a day like this would come. I was on my way to deliver a lunchbox to my boyfriend, when I sensed something. Perhaps it was my finely honed detective's intuition at work. Through the wire fence, I saw the chief prosecutor standing next to the garish car. I don't know. The chief prosecutor was holding a knife in her right hand. Then she thrust the pointy tip of the knife into Detective Goodman's chest. Bringing a lunchbox to your boyfriend? How touching. As you can see, there is no room for doubt. The key point of your testimony seems to be nothing other than the point of the knife which you saw being stabbed into Detective Goodman. So how does it feel to be so utterly crushed? I'm still thinking about that. It's merely a flesh wound, Mr. Wright. Very well, Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. How did you know? I respect the prosecutor's basic abhorrence of crime. Yet their methods are ugly and twisted. Twisted methods will always lead to tragedy. The lunch lady's uniformed opinion is duly noted. Given that, they are used to erasing inconvenient evidence at their whim. Killing off a detective that knew too much is merely an extension of that. Miss Starr, do you have something personal against prosecutors? I felt that I had found my dream job when I became an investigator. And if I hadn't been laid off by those prosecutors over there, I'd still be one. Laid off? She was fired? To me, prosecutors are nothing more than two worms. Wait, what? How did I get two out of then worms? There we go. I read than as two. That said, I am a pro, as you know. My testimony is unbiased and flawless. Very well, you may continue, Miss Starr. This boyfriend, he's the detective? Not that boyfriend, the security guard. That boyfriend? You have several? Yes, this boyfriend, that boyfriend, and the other boyfriend. Care to join? The yet another boyfriend position is still open for applicants. I'll stick with the lunches, thanks. Note to self, the judge had to think before replying. The security guard room is in the lot, in Block A. It's up on the second level, so you can see everything from there. That would be the room with the security sign. Incidentally, did you bring your lunchboxes by car? Since I'm a visitor now, I parked in B block. So she was in B block when she witnessed the crime. You sensed something? So you're saying you had a pre-motion of the murder? It felt like... how would you say? Oh yes, it was like the feeling you get when you view a pumpkin chock full of seeds. What? I have no idea what that means. Speaking of a detective's intuition, wasn't the victim Mr. Bruce Goodman also a detective? Yes, well, he was like a young cheese. A young cheese? A pale white cheese not yet tangy with experience on the streets. A greenhorn. Then I must be hard. Yellowed and sharp as a tack. Yes, with the odor of an old cheese to match. In any case, there in the lot, I felt something stirring in the back of my mind. Through the wire fence, I saw the chief prosecutor standing next to the garish car. The garish car, you mean? By the garish car, you mean... Mr. Edgeworth's car, yes. Mr. Edgeworth's? Incidentally, the knife with which the victim was stabbed was also Mr. Edgeworth's. Wasn't it? Indeed it was. What an odd case this is. And the person you saw? You are sure it was the defendant? I saw her from no further than 30 feet away. I am certain it was her. If she's telling the truth, we're doomed. Let's just do what we can, even if we don't have any proof. We can always nitpick. Witness. In your testimony, you clearly stated the following. Prosecutors are nothing more than worms, ergo, you are a biased witness. You might want to keep those silly opinions to yourself in the future, rookie. Huh? Rookie? Unless you're willing to risk the consequences of doubting me? I'll fry you like a fritter. Crispy on the outside, chewy on the inside. That was inspiring. I believe I've heard that tagline elsewhere. You could cry plagiarism? I may be relegated to lowly post. The lowly post of lunch lady, but my instincts are honed. A photograph? You took this? The moment I witnessed the crime, my reflexes took over and snap, I took a picture. In fact, one of my lunchboxes is rigged with a camera. I suppose that's more exciting than just hanging it around your neck. Witness, why am I only seeing this photograph just now? You think I'd show it to you, a prosecutor? Think again. My boyfriend works in the photography division of criminal affairs. Well, this is most certainly the defendant. Uh-oh. That is unmistakably Lana Skye. So, what was the defendant doing at the time? Tell me more about this knife that the suspect was carrying. Also, I'm gonna examine this. Doesn't look like she was holding a knife in this photo. What kind of butt are they going to pull off butt? Well, I'd say the blade was about 4 inches long. 4 inches? Are you sure about that? Where did we hear that the knife was something else? Four and a half inch knife. Haha! A contradiction. I don't know if that's enough of a contradiction. Is that right, Mr. Edgeworth? It is your knife, after all. Ahem, yes, that's about right. Prosecutors are, by nature, well versed in the location of a man's vital organs. I'm sure it was easier than boiling an egg for my egg salad surprise set. You can't just testify as to her ability to kill an egg, I mean a person? Perhaps a chicken salad set would have been a better metaphor. So the defendant was holding a knife. What then? Then she thrust the pointy tip of the knife into Detective Goodman's chest. Tell the court why you didn't try to stop this crime. You did see her raise a knife to strike, no? The defense has a point. Unfortunately, by the time I realized what was going on, it was already too late. Too late? Yes, the next moment, the chief prosecutor brought down the murder weapon. I see. It's only a flesh wound, Mr. Wright. We can make it... You said that before. Anything else? Scientifically speaking, Miss Starr's testimony is flawless. Sounds pretty fatal to me. What do we do? Is this it? Is my sister guilty? Let's just keep our heads cool and press the witness a bit, shall we? For some reason, having her panicking next to me makes me calmer. Don't smile like that. Oops. Hold on, let me just look at this phone. Why is she wearing the jacket? In her right hand. That sounds like something. Also, she's not wearing gloves, so why are there no fingerprints on this knife? Tell me more about this knife the suspect was carrying. 4 inches long. Wounded on her right hand. I can't present profiles in this, though. Oh, I got it! And you witnessed this? You saw Miss Sky stab the victim with the knife? As I've already said, yes, I swear it on my finest salmon swirl lunch. I'm sure that is a fine lunch. But isn't that odd? Look at this photograph. This is the photograph you took of the very moment of the crime, is it not? Then why is Miss Sky not holding a knife? Ahem. Mr. Edgeworth, your thoughts? Objection! That had to be the weakest objection ever, Edgeworth. Yet it was still stronger than your ever feeble mind, Mr. Wright. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? This photograph was not taken the moment before the stabbing. This was taken the moment after the stabbing. And how can you tell that? Blood splatter. Huh? See the dark crimson stains on the chief prosecutor's coat? But it's a black and white photograph! Ah, yes, it's hard to tell, but this could be blood. Well, Mr. Wright, I see no problem here. No problem except you. Mr. Wright, are you just going to sit there and take that kind of abuse? Ugh, you got a better idea? Objection! For no reason. I don't know. It's a lunch box camera, though. Wait, that contradicts what the witness said in her testimony. Namely, that she took the picture the moment she witnessed the crime. Well, it seems I was slightly unclear. My apologies. That's it? If you run out of lunch, you order seconds. Problem solved. If you don't like it, just try ordering the jumbo-sized lunch from the get-go. Good advice. I'm not sure I understand it, but good advice. I didn't have time to stop her. Prosecutor Sky was cold, calculating like a robot. She killed without pain or remorse. It was a premeditated murder. Premeditated? How did you know? Look at the chief prosecutor's hands in that photograph. Well, are those gloves? She's wearing gloves? Oh wait, she is. Surgical gloves made of thin rubber, most likely. Why would she have those on? It was not premeditated. She would not be wearing those gloves. But she said she stabbed her hand. How did she stab her hand, then? These gloves do seem to tell a tale of premeditation. Premeditated murder, a serious offense. Witness, add this to your testimony. The murder was planned. The gloves prove it. But how could it be premeditated when Edgeworth only got there at 5:12 p.m.? What was she planning on doing if Edgeworth wasn't there? I'm just gonna press this. Oops, I didn't hit Q. Damn! I'm hitting it too many times. What if she was just in the habit of wearing gloves, like driving gloves? The gloves were admitted as evidence when the defendant was arrested. They were rubber gloves of the kind used for autopsies. In other words, when the chief prosecutor came to the crime scene, she came to do murder. It's the only possible conclusion one can make. Everything was planned. It was a premeditated crime. Arg. Impressive. I'm sorry they took you off the force, Miss Starr. This is bad. She's got them thinking this was all planned. If she can prove this claim, the trial's already over. Got to think of a way to show that this wasn't premeditated. I'm gonna go with what I think it is. Nope. Maybe his knife, then? Because how would she be able to make premeditated murder if the knife wasn't there? Witness, do you know what this is? Are you trying to test me? I sell box lunches for a living, you know. That's a knife. The knife. The knife that was in Mr. Edgeworth's trunk. Indeed, it is my knife. What's with this case? The bloody murder weapon, a red car, all belonging to the prosecutor there? The defendant is the chief prosecutor. Mommy, are the prosecutors bad people? The defense has a request. We ask that the witness provide an accurate testimony. What's that, rookie? In your testimony, you stated that Lana Skye planned this murder, and that's why she was wearing those special gloves. Seems like a natural conclusion to me. The gloves do indicate planning. However, why would she not also prepare the most important thing, the murder weapon? Oh. This knife just happened to be in the trunk of that car. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to plan a murder, you don't forget the weapon. Whoa! Did her food just fly up into the air? Order! 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 Great, now the tide is turning in our favor. Great show, Mr. Wright. My sister's as good as free. Right. I believe the next lunch you'll be eating is humble pie. What? I hope you weren't deluding yourself into thinking that the tide has turned. Not over such a trifling detail. But this shoots a hole in the whole premeditated theory. Bah. The prosecution could care less if it was premeditated or not. The only one who seems to care is that lunch lady over there. The defendant Lana Skye murdered a detective with a knife. That is the only thing that the prosecution needs to prove. There's no S. Nothing else. Very good, Mr. Prosecutor. I suppose you think you're clever now? But you know as well as I do that she planned on killing him. It was planned. If it wasn't, why would she have... Hold on. What did she say? Why would she have been wearing the gloves? I believe I'd like to hear your testimony again. Witness, please tell us only what you saw, not what you thought. How dare you! My powers of deduction are not to be underestimated. Really now? Hold on, I'll be right back. Lana Skye intended to murder Detective Goodman. Totally not a deduction or anything. That's why she called the victim all the way to the prosecutor's office. I'm sure the chief prosecutor had a grudge against the victim. Nothing else could drive that human machine to plunge the knife in again and again. Again and again? Hold on. One knife wound. Did she plunge it in the same wound multiple times? I guess she could have done that. Not, why would she be doing that, though? And also, how is she so slow with the camera that she missed all of that? The victim was summoned from the police department to the prosecutor's office. It does sound a lot like premeditation, doesn't it? So, if I ordered a pizza, does that mean I'm planning to kill the delivery boy? In any case, the defense may now cross-examine the witness. You've said that, but you haven't told us how you know. That's what I'm about to tell you, rookie. I believe what she just said was a mere prelude to the story she is about to tell. Try not to interrupt her again, rookie. Never interrupt a storyteller. It's like pulling a bun out of the oven, half-baked. Something's half-baked here, alright, and it's you. Try not to confuse the defense witness. They're not very quick on their feet. Now, why did you believe the suspect had intentions to murder the victim? Her actions speak for themselves. You have no proof that Miss Skye called him there. You have no proof she didn't. Mr. Edgeworth, thoughts? There is no record of a call made on the defendant Miss Lana Skye's phone. She might have written him a letter. A letter? What? Come on, you could have tried public phone first, at least. In any case, the victim came to the prosecutor's office where he was murdered. I'm sure he had a reason to be there. Witness? Why do you think it was the suspect who summoned the victim that day? I'm sure You're sure? That sounds like opinion. Not fact. Or not really opinion, but it's definitely not a fact. What kind of grudge? Well, I wouldn't know that. Of course you don't. That's because she didn't have a grudge. Rookie. I have a lunchbox here. Now, what's inside? How am I supposed to know? See? We agree there is a lunchbox here, but we don't know what's inside. A person's life is like a lunchbox with pretzels, don't you agree? I get it. That's why my lunch was so salty. This judge isn't very good with metaphors. The suspect had a grudge against Detective Goodman. Will you tell us your basis for this thinking? It's simple. A human machine? That's a contradiction. Please. Can't you find fault with something of substance, Mr. Wright? Note to self, Mr. Edgeworth's sighs smell like citrus fruit. You say again and again, how many times did she stab him exactly? We often say, chop into 1,000 pieces, but we don't actually mean 1,000 pieces. What difference does it make if the deed is done? How come she's getting mad at me? Let's just say she stabbed him several times, and leave it at that. Leave it at that? This is a murder case, people. Mr. Wright, you should speak up if you have an objection, you know. Miss Starr has turned out to be as short-tempered as she looked when we met her. Challenging her abilities as a detective really set her off. The short wick burns out the fastest. It's a scientific fact. I wonder, wouldn't it depend on the size of the candle? I mean, add more wax and even a really short wick would burn longer. Obviously, more scientific testing is required. A single stab, there we go. You say she stabbed him again and again, but you couldn't have witnessed that. Are you testing me? Then I'll test you. With my moss surprise. I'm afraid the moss is growing under our feet as we wait, Miss Starr. What do you mean? I shouldn't have to explain this, but take a look. The autopsy report states that death was due to a loss of blood from one stab wound. Edgeworth, stop stealing my thunder. I was gonna say that. Aha, you're right. Good show, Mr. Edgeworth. What a hunk, he's my hero, really. What about my objection? No one noticed? Well, witness? You got the crime scene set, right? Oh, thanks. I always believed that no one could ever mistake ketchup for blood. But now I realize that such mistakes are possible. So, you're saying you mistook something for blood? When she lifted her knife, I thought I saw blood at her breast. Splattered blood from her victim. I don't know, she brought a whole collection. That's why I thought she must have stabbed him at least twice. Then tell us what you saw that you thought was blood. Testify. Her red muffler looked like blood to me. That's how ghastly the whole scene was. Her red muffler? Well, you gave me a black and white photo. How am I supposed to tell color? Her red muffler? Yes, like a scarf. The chief prosecutor always wears one around her neck. So she can easily be so she can be easily hanged at the moment's notice, I suppose. She's right. Miss Sky was wearing a red scarf, wasn't she? But wait. Isn't it odd that you mistook that for splattered blood? Well, people often mistake my beard for a bib. A judge with a bib. That's why this place feels so much like kindergarten sometimes. Actually, I do think I saw some traces of blood on her chest. However, the autopsy report is clear on this matter. There was only one knife wound. Apparently, Miss Starr isn't entirely sure of her own testimony. Mr. Wright, this is our chance! Chance for what, I wonder? Miss Starr has turned out to be as short-tempered as she looked when we met her. Challenging her abilities as a dude. The question is she wearing it in this photograph? No, she isn't! Miss Starr, I demand? The witness is clearly not suited for detective work. What? The suspect was not wearing a scarf or muffler of any kind when she stabbed the victim. And you've proved it yourself, with this photograph. Huh? But that can't be. Only a professional lunch lady could be so utterly clueless. Congratulations, perhaps you've finally found your true calling in life. Harsh words, but good. In the end, Mr. Edgeworth prevails. What was my objection? Chopped liver? But it was there, a scarf. No, not that, but something red, really. Well now, where were we? The witness has given us an entertaining interlude, but back to business. What? Very well, witness. Continue your testimony. You saw the crime and apprehended the suspect? Tell us about that. Very well. I do remember some things accurately, at least. Ultimately, we couldn't shake the most important part of her testimony. Most important part? The part where your sister stabs the victim. This next testimony might be the moment of truth. After the murder, the suspect attempted to run behind the partition off to her side. I quickly caught her, explained her rights to her, and arrested her on the spot. I guess when I arrested her, she mentioned the muffler. That's what had me confused in my earlier testimony. The chief prosecutor made to escape, but against Angel Star, resistance is futile. You are quite determined about this scarf, aren't you? I strike like a snake and bite like a cobra. That's me, Angel Star. That wasn't a very good metaphor. First of all, a cobra is a kind of snake. Don't bother me with details unless you want to get bitten. No thanks. Note to self. Mr. Wright is weak against poisonous snake bites. The chief prosecutor tried to resist, but her efforts were in vain. She knocked my hands aside, kicked over an oil drum. An oil drum? Hard to imagine. Oh, she's beautiful, but deadly. A predator, this one. A leopard woman. Roar. Yeah, how did she get over there with the fence? Very well, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you will. So where is this partition on the floor plans? Sure, she means this wall next to the car. That's right. There was a wall there, about 6 feet high. She was obviously trying to hide herself. Quite a natural thing for a criminal to do. Or it could just be that she was trying to get to the phone to call the police, because she just saw a dead body. And what did you do then? I quickly caught her and explained her rights to her and oh, I already read that. You said quickly. Were you close to the suspect? As I just said, I was only 30 feet away from her the whole time. Maybe I should press her for a little more details? Press her. I'd like to see this on the floor plans, just to be safe. The Lunchland car was... She was a visitor, thus she was parked in the B block. So you witnessed the murder from here? That would make it about 30 feet from the car, yes. That correct, Miss Starr? Yes, that's right. And there was a chain link fence in front of you. I went over it, of course. Amazing! The cough-up queen lunch lady athlete, indeed. It would have taken her a little time to climb over the fence, so she couldn't have gotten to my sister that fast. Yeah, that fence was about 9 feet high, too. So how did Miss Sky not get away? She mentioned the muffler? What exactly did she say? If I remembered exactly, I would have told you in my testimony. Cheeky. Anyway, all I heard her say was the word muffler. Just that one word. So, what you heard wasn't the suspect talking to you, but to someone else? Yes, the chief prosecutor was talking on her phone. Her phone? You can't mean... By phone, do you mean... the cell phone discovered at the crime scene? Yes, ultimately. Ultimately? My memory. It's like a salmon headed upstream, you see. Yeah. No, the court doesn't see, Miss Starr. The chief prosecutor first attempted to use the phone hanging on the wall. On the wall? That's right. Near the car, there was an emergency phone on the wall. Apparently, it was out of order. And so she used her cell phone? Indeed, the emergency phone was out of order that day. Good witnessing, witness. Good witnessing? Whatever happened to good testifying? You should be... You should of course add this to your testimony. The things I do to please this rookie defense attorney. Lana's cell phone updated in the court record. How did she see that? How? How could she have possibly seen that? Did she somehow run up the 9-foot-tall wall, and then run around the wall? Like, how? Do you think you could restate your testimony for the court? Aha! I was going to ask the same thing. I'll only say this one time, so listen close, rookies. The chief prosecutor stabbed the victim and ran behind the partition. Then she picked up the emergency phone on the wall, but it was out of order. How did you see that? So she pulled her own phone out of her pocket. And during that time, you climbed over the chain-link fence. And then, when I boldly grabbed her arm, the chief prosecutor hung up her phone. And you saw her doing this? What is it, Mr. Wright? Miss Starr, I have to conclude that you have a personal grudge against Miss Lana Skye. The witness is a former detective. Her testimony is unmarred by personal bias. Well, who would have thought you would be my knight in shining armor, prosecutor? You who, together with the chief prosecutor, kicked me out 2 years ago. Well, Miss Starr, this This is a fatal contradiction with your testimony. How do you explain this? I don't know what you're talking about. Mess with me and I'll make you cough it all up. Ahem. Let's look at the floor plans. You said you witnessed the crime from this point. However, if that's true, you couldn't have possibly seen Miss Guy making that phone call. I believe you see what I'm getting at. That emergency phone was on the back side of this partition. If indeed you were in Block B, you couldn't have seen it. What? Then she says, well, I was mysteriously granted X-ray vision at that moment. Order! Order! What is the meaning of this? It's simple, Your Honor. She's not coughing up lunch, she's coughing up lies! Grr. That's quite a claim, Mr. Wright. Perhaps you will allow me a question? Tell us exactly what lie the witness has told the court. Here's where the counterattack begins. I can't afford to get this wrong. The witness lied about... well, you can afford because you have enough health. What did she lie about? I'm guessing what she saw. Where she saw it? Okay, I'll go with that. Miss Guy tried to use the emergency phone, but it was out of order. What is significant about this fact? Nothing. Therefore, it would be pointless for Miss Star to lie about it. Pointless to lie, I see. But say the witness did actually see Miss Guy using the emergency phone. It would mean Miss Star witnessed the crime from a different location. A different location? Now that's a pointless lie if I ever heard one. Before you call my lie pointless, at least let me tell it. Let me ask a question to our clever wordsmith, Mr. Wright. Just where was the witness when she saw the crime? All the testimony we've heard until now points in one direction. The place from where Miss Star witnessed this crime was... the security room. This is the only place where she could have been. The security guard room? Indeed, the security room in the underground parking lot is well positioned. It's built on the second floor so you can see the entire lot. She would have been able to see the emergency phone from there. But why there? There are many other places where she could have seen the phone. Not in this case, Your Honor. The witness, not being part of the prosecutor's office, couldn't park in the A block. The only place where she could have seen the entire crime and the back of the partition is here. I remember in your testimony you said, You brought a lunch to your boyfriend in the security guard room, yes? Well, mister? How many years have I been getting the better of men? To think that the tables could be turned. Today a man has got the better of Angel Star. Order! Order! Witness! What have you done? You used to be a detective. You should know better. I'm not turning back. The guilty will be punished. And I'll do what I must to make sure justice prevails. Hold on. Sorry about that. My dad likes to, do very long calls that don't have to be that long. And I'll do what I must to make sure justice prevails. The guilty. Is she talking about Miss Sky? Mr. Wright, doesn't this strike you as odd? Why did Miss Star lie? It doesn't make sense. Huh? She could have just said she saw the crime from the security guard station. It wouldn't change anything. Exactly. This photograph tells all. It was the defendant who stabbed the victim. That truth still stands. It still stands? I disagree, Mr. Edgeworth. What? Hold on. I left my water. If a witness is found to be lying, they're guilty of perjury. She knows this. She wouldn't risk that without a good reason. So tell us, what her reason was, Mr. Wright? Huh? Me? Who else? Mr. Wright, let's review what we know. Miss Star witnessed the crime from the security guard station. But she lied and said she saw it from B block. It must make a vital difference. But what? What could change? The angle of view to the crime, that's what could change. Meaning she couldn't take this photo. Why, the angle at which she saw the crime could crime occur would change. The angle? What do you mean? Well, the security guard station is on the second floor, and, she would have she would have sort of a more 3D view of the crime. And this is important. Why? That's not what I wanted. Right, you didn't tell him what I wanted you to tell him. Why would the difference in lighting be an important factor? Also, is there a difference between, it does look farther. I don't know the distance to the crime, but why would that make a difference? Changes the distance, her and the scene of the crime. My condolences, Mr. Wright, but one look at the floor plans and it's quite clear. The distance between the scene of the crime and the guard station is 30 feet. I don't see how that would change what she could see. What she saw is not in question here. What matters is the time it would take her to reach the scene of the crime. Ah, yes. I didn't think of that. Miss Starr, you witnessed the crime from the security guard station. Now how long did it take you to go from there to the scene of the crime where you arrested Miss Sky? Well, witness? You. Yes? You ordered the squid wheels, right? The quality of my lunches has gone from low to inedible. I was bringing a PB&J lunch with fresh boysenberry jam to my boyfriend. Boysenberry for the boyfriend. He wasn't in the station, so I waited. I witnessed the crime from the glass-walled station. And before I knew what I was doing, I found myself running towards the scene. But the door was locked. I couldn't open it. This is very, very long. That's why I had to go through the visitors' parking in B block. That's quite a detour. It probably took me at least 5 minutes to get to the scene of the crime. Five minutes? This changes things considerably. But it was that woman over there in the defendant's chair who stabbed him. I know it. I have photographic evidence that you took 5 minutes afterwards. I swear it on my finest plastic spork. You have a point, and the spork is a wonderful invention. Do you like another caviar lunch? Absolutely. Uh-oh. Mr. Wright, you have to do something. Do I have any evidence to stop this? You couldn't have heard the word muffler. Maybe.
Objection!
5 minutes between the witnessing of the murder and the arrest. Think about it. You could make pasta in that amount of time if you'd like it al dente. I've got lunchboxes that tie pasta into knots, rookie. A 5-minute blank, isn't that strange? Strange? You were a criminal. What would you do with 5 minutes, Your Honor? Well, I guess I'd flee the scene. Hey! Don't get the wrong idea. I didn't kill anyone. But you have the instincts of a killer. You would run, but this time was different. Miss Guy dawdled at the scene of the crime. She even had her picture taken. No true criminal would act this way. It's inconceivable. Well then, it seems we've come to the end of this testimony. The witness has a grudge against the defendant and a blank in her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, is the next witness ready to go? Unfortunately, I appear to have overestimated this witness on account of her professional history. We did it! We screwed that can shut, Mr. Wright! That was too close. I'm afraid that the cough-up queen has been dethroned. And with that, court is adjourned. Mr. Edgeworth, you ordered the squid wheels, right? That's the one she tried to foist off on me. I prefer not to take the defense team's leftovers. Anything else to say? I might be able to save you. I have decisive evidence. What is he called? Sorry, I had to go check something. I have decisive evidence. What is that? Is this another one of her trick lunchboxes? My apologies, but we have no further questions to ask of you, Miss Star. Ah. Is this your jumbo lunchbox? Woohoo! A triple-decker! Out of deference to the witness's determination, I'll allow one more testimony. Let's hear this decisive evidence. Like the Lunchland motto says, you won't be disappointed. What's she going to pull out of her lunchbox this time? I should have mentioned those 5 minutes when I wasn't looking at the crime scene. And now, the matter of the victim's shoe, did I not bring this up? Two types of blood were found on this shoe. One was of course the victim's, and the other blood type matched that of the defendant, Miss Lana Skye. This shoe proves it. It's flawless, decisive evidence. What about that shoe? What? There was blood found on that shoe? Try Lunchland for all your lunch and decisive evidence needs. Witness, what's the meaning of this? Why is this the first time I've heard of this evidence? Deja vu. Simple, as I've already said. I don't trust you with evidence, Mr. Edgeworth. That's why I took the liberty of investigating this myself. And you had blood tests performed? Didn't I mention? I have 3 boyfriends in forensics. In any case, Your Honor, I can't accept this as evidence. What? You must know the 2 rules of evidence law. Rule number 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. In other words, this shoe is illegal evidence, at least for the time being. Is that right, Mr. Wright? Seems so. Edgeworth sure is celebrating. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. Don't forget, I used to be a detective. As I mentioned previously, the shoe has already been tested by a member of the forensics department. As you can see, it was approved by the police department as of today. Even the general public can produce official evidence, Mr. Wright. I keep saying... Mr. Edgeworth. There we go. Is that right, Mr. Wright? Seems so. Edgeworth is looking pretty sullen. Could at least study some evidence law, really. The prosecution's complaints notwithstanding. It appears this evidence satisfies the first rule of evidence law. However, seems you have yet another count against you, witness. Anything to ensure that the guilty are properly judged. White enameled shoe bears traces of blood from Goodman's and Lana Skye. Very well. Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Looks like it was stepped in blood, too. Ah, there's blood here, too! The sole of the shoe? It's gotta be the victim's. Must have stepped in a puddle of his own blood. All this blood, it's horrible. This blood might be an important clue. See, it's a different one. This blood. It's my sister's, right? It appears so. Lana's right hand was bandaged when I saw her in jail. She must have cut herself at the time of the crime. Poor sis. Why did you lie about those 5 minutes? I guess you could say I just wanted people to look at the results. The results? How many times do I have to say this? I saw the chief prosecutor stab the victim before my very own eyes. Compared to that, a 5-minute blank means nothing. Then why didn't you just tell the truth? Don't make me laugh. We're dealing with the most untrustworthy of the vile lot known as prosecutors. Falsified evidence, arranged testimonies, erasing and manipulating evidence. When you fight monsters, you need to use every trick in the book. This is when the suspect is admitted she did it. But the false testimony is the most despicable crime of all, Miss Star. Let's just get this over with. And you found this shoe at the scene of the crime? I detained the chief prosecutor and notified the police department. I wanted to make myself useful while I was waiting for the police to arrive. So like an ill-trained pooch, you snuck off with a shoe. I was afraid someone would erase the chief prosecutor's crime. The shoe was my secret weapon if that should happen. See this fashionable basket I have here? Carries more than lunchboxes, gentlemen. I'm happy for you and your lunchbox bag, really. In any case, you removed valuable evidence from the scene of the crime. Now, tell us what you did next. So you brought it to the forensics department? If you're going to submit something as evidence in court, you need it approved. To do that, evidence must be analyzed by a forensics expert. And she got away with her little coup because she used to be a detective. The shoe does appear to have bloodstains on it. Well, the man was stabbed after all. And that blood belonged to the victim, Detective Goodman? As I said, there were 2 types of blood found on the shoe. You can't say for sure the blood belonged to the defendant with a blood test. You claim to know something about blood tests, rookie. Huh? Well, speak up. Well, blood comes in 4 types, A, B, O, and AB. However, can't tell from a blood test whether a murder was committed in cold blood. That's just a figure of speech, Mr. Wright. Actually, we can differentiate between millions of types of all the blood tests out there, which means that we can more or less narrow any sample of blood down to just one person. Or so I hear. That's pretty specific. If I had a little more time, I would have gotten DNA test results. But they said there's very little doubt it could be anyone's but Miss Lana Sky's. Why, is she like some, like, O negative? So the suspect's blood was found on the victim's shoe? That ties her directly to the death of Detective Goodman. I was afraid he was going to say that. Can't let this evidence go through without a fight. You ordered the peppered fish guts, right? Some like it hot, Mr. Wright. Like your client, she's in enough hot water to make a whole vat of soup. Mr. Wright, do you or don't you have a problem with this shoe? A problem? This is critical. Is there a problem with the victim's shoe? How do you step in his blood? I'm not imagining things. I'd say there is one critical problem with this evidence. A clear contradiction. That gleam in your eyes. You're still young, rookie. I'd give you a peppered fish gut now, but you couldn't take the heat, could you? Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. What is the contradiction about the victim's shoe? Show us the problem with this evidence. I wonder if you noticed. There's blood on the bottom of his shoe. Don't mess with me, rookie, or it'll be your blood on the bottom of my shoe. Indeed, there is quite a bit of blood on the bottom of the shoe. It makes sense the victim was stabbed with a knife. What could possibly be contradictory about blood on the bottom of his shoe? It was a chest wound? There was no blood on the ground? I'm guessing your shoe has blood on it too. You just shot yourself in the foot. Arg. Dang it. problem lies in the footprint. The footprint? Note that the bottom of the victim's shoe was covered in blood. Then isn't it strange? Why weren't any bloody footprints found by the scene of the crime? Aha! As you can see, there were no traces of any such footprints at the scene of the crime. That contradicts your claim about this shoe. This picture only shows part of the floor, so there could have been bloody footprints. Then where are they, Mr. Edgeworth? Because we checked the scene and found nothing of the sort. Order, order, order. Well, witness. What, huh? Great going, Mr. Wright, but it's true that the lack of a footprint is a contradiction. But then we have to ask why there wasn't a footprint. Oh, that's true. There has to be a reason why there wasn't a footprint. Think, Mr. Wright, think. Hey, I don't know why it's not there. I'm just good at finding contradictions. What? I see. Now I get it. Get what? Our witness is more devious than I gave her credit for. We were hoodwinked to the very end. But she slipped. There is one vital hint to the truth in her testimony. What are you talking about? Think back to when she told us about apprehending the suspect. The chief prosecutor tried to resist, but her efforts were in vain. She knocked my hands aside, kicked over an oil drum. Oh, she's beautiful but deadly, a predator this one. Leopard woman, raw. I thought that was a strange thing for the normally cool-headed chief to do. No kidding. Now, witness, allow me to ask a very simple question. This oil drum, was it empty? Oh, that, I'm not sure. I like your attitude, Mr. Edgeworth. Though apparently you're not the slowest conveyor belt in the lunchbox factory. Witness, well, was the oil drum empty? The oil drum kicked over by the chief prosecutor was brimming with water. With water? What does that mean? It means the thing was washed away. How convenient. Still don't get it, Mr. Wright. Do you want to know the reason she knocked it over? The real reason? Aha! You don't mean? Yes, the suspect knocked over that oil drum for one reason and one reason alone. To erase the bloodstains that would become evidence as against her. That ties things up quite nicely. The bloodstains left on the victim's shoes tie her quite clearly to this murder. Then after the deed was done, she knocked over the oil drum to erase the telltale signs. Why, that's a prosecutor's specialty, erasing evidence. That reminds me, Miss Sky's right hand was hurt. Didn't she say she cut herself when she stabbed him? So that's when my sister's blood got on the shoe. Well, I see no reason to prolong this trial. Mr. Wright, do something, please! What? What can I do? Your sister has confessed to the crime, and she tried to conceal it. But... enough. There is no need for further debate. The verdict, Your Honor. Very well. But Angel Star is on the prosecution's side. She could have been lying about the water. This court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Sky, Little girl, what did you just say? Huh? Me? Did you just say that I, Angel Star, was on the prosecution's side? Well, yeah, you are. You're saying my sister hid evidence by erasing the bloody footprints. Well. I thought you'd had your fill, but here you are, demanding a second helping. Another lunchbox. A lunchbox called evidence. Wait, witness, don't tell me you have something else. The time for deliberations is past. Any further comments, and you will be held in contempt of court. Your threats don't scare the cough-up queen. Look at this. A photograph? Had it just in case anyone had the gall to suggest that the white shoe didn't belong to the victim. I see no room for error in this evidence. Mr. Wright, wait, look at that asphalt in this photograph. Hey, it's clearly wet. Erasing the last trace of doubt from the court's mind, immediately after the murder, the crime scene was washed with water. I'm sorry, Mr. Wright. I guess I couldn't help after all. It's not your fault. I knew I couldn't win this case from the beginning. And it seems this is what your sister wanted anyway. I'm sorry, Mia. Right, wet or not. Don't be so quick to throw in the towel. Get yourself up off the asphalt. Take another good look. Oh, I don't have it yet. Don't give up, not until the bitter end. This is the last piece of evidence. Very well. This time I'd like to declare a verdict for good. Your Honor, wait! What is it with you people? Can't I hand down my verdicts in peace anymore? Whatever it is, can it wait? No, it can't. Then it will be too late. Look at this photograph, the last one submitted. This trial isn't over until we give each piece of evidence proper consideration. So, Wright, are you saying there's a problem with this latest piece of evidence? Yeah, I'll think later. Yeah, there's a problem. Right or wrong, I've got to go ahead with this. I suppose since we've come this far, we should give every claim a fair shake. Very well, Mr. Wright. Show the court the problem in this photograph. Was stabbed in the chest. I don't know. The problem in this photograph is here. What's this? There's something poking out of the car's muffler. Just wait a moment, Mr. Edgeworth. Your Honor? You just said muffler. Hey, that's exactly what they said before. However, I see no trace of a muffler or scarf of any kind in this photograph. A muffler is also a part of a car or motorcycle, Your Honor. Just think of it as part of the exhaust system, a pipe. I see, and I see. It's that suspicious-looking cloth sticking out of the car's muffler. Humph. So what if there was something sticking out of the muffler? What does that have to do with this case? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Sorry, Miss Starr, but it's not going to be that easy. In fact, you've already told us why this is important to the case. Said as much in your testimony. What? Let's hear what Mr. Wright has on his mind. Tell us why you think this piece of cloth in the muffler is related to this case. Because she wasn't wearing it? Muffler, there we go. Miss Starr, recall your testimony for the court. Ah, yes, when I arrested her, she mentioned the muffler. That's what had me confused in my earlier testimony. Muffler. Arg. Could it be that the muffler you heard mentioned was actually this exhaust pipe? If so, that means this piece of cloth is vital evidence. Well, it seems we have to suspend the proceedings. Suspend? I find myself wondering about that piece of cloth. If we leave any question unanswered here, we do a disservice to the law. Have the car at the crime scene inspected at once, and bring me that cloth. The verdict will wait until after we've seen all the evidence. Agreed? I suppose so. Ooh, that was close. But we made it. At least for now. This court will adjourn for a 30-minute recess. It's lunchtime after all. He's still hungry? Well, I'm gonna end the stream here now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.